Hey everybody, welcome to Finding the Upside. I'm your host, Maria De Lorenzis Reyes, and today I have something very special for you. In this episode, I'm bringing you a compilation of three past powerful conversations, different voices, different journeys, but all connected by one universal theme: resilience and transformation. You'll hear how Jessica Amerosa rebuilt her life after deep personal loss, how Mizuho Kanazawa creates space for multicultural voices to truly belong, and how Sal Rametta found the courage to reinvent himself in the face of life's challenges. Each story is raw, real, and a reminder that even in our hardest seasons, there is an upside waiting to be found. So whether you're watching or listening, settle in for an inspiring journey across these three remarkable segments. Let's dive in. You're a CEO, entrepreneur, or business owner that can't seem to figure out what is blocking you from attaining the next level of growth in your business? Then listen up. I'm Maria De Lorenzis Reyes. I've taken what I've learned in 30 years working inside multi-million-dollar corporations, building my own business, and consulting my clients, and discovered 5 themes that stop a business from scaling. I've created a tool to help you get the answers you need to get unstuck and unlock the next level of growth. Head over to scale.mariadr.com and click the link to get your custom Scale Factor Formula scorecard when this episode is over. Could you share a little bit more about your work, your background, and how you came to start to do this work and work with the clients that you do?
Sure. Okay, great. So, yes, my name is Miho.
Yes.
I came to this country a few decades ago, like 30 plus years ago.
Okay, yeah.
So my English is not my first language.
Yes, got it.
So when I got here, I couldn't speak any English.
Nothing?
Nothing. And then,
How
I went
old
to
were you?
school. I was 18, 17. I came here for college.
Okay.
And I never left.
Wow.
Yeah, so I stayed on and, just saying yes to different inspirational moments led me to become a therapist. And as a therapist, I started my career working in different hospitals. And in a system of the hospitals, I encounter so many patients getting misunderstood because of the cultures that they come in with. Like you might want to get a hot drink instead of a cold drink. And there's a clash of the care, like between the system thing.
In the hospital.
In the hospital,
Okay.
and it's a very white male system.
Yeah.
So I have witnessed very, many occasions that are very heart-crushing.
Yeah.
The patient's needs are kind of overridden by the system. And it was very difficult to work and advocate as a person of color, as an Asian woman with accent, and as a woman.
Yes.
So I just felt like I can't advocate for my patients in a system because I'm kind of, being made to do the things that I need to do because I work for the system.
Right.
So
So administration is kind of guiding what you're supposed to be doing.
yes.
But you don't feel that's in line with the needs of the patient.
Right. So sometimes I had to report a patient, maybe co-sleeping or which I completely endorse because many of our worlds live like they sleep together with children and parents.
Yeah.
But it's not the norm in kind of Western culture.
I see.
So that type of stuff
see.
really was difficult for me.
So the cultural differences and the system doesn't understand the difference in the culture.
Right.
I see.
So I decided to leave the hospital work and I decided to open up a practice of my own where all these multicultural clients can come and they can talk about their practice, their cultural practice, where they come from, and what they want to do to their loved ones without feeling so scared of being reported or being called out. That's abnormal. I wanted to make a very safe space for these individuals. So I started my practice in 2007 or so. And there's nobody, of course, when you start up a practice.
Right. because you're starting from scratch.
Yes, and there's no one for 6 months or so.
Yeah.
But I was really believing that there's a more need
Okay.
for this.
Yep.
And so I kept spreading word, and I just got my first patient, and working with her, and led to another patient, and
So by referral, and you started to get known.
Yes. So now I have full practice for many years, and I'm very blessed to work with all of my clients, and I love all of them.
My question for you is, did you find that satisfaction in being able to follow your instincts and help them as you needed, and what did that feel like for you?
Oh, I love it so much. I feel that's my safe space for me as well. So when I am not scared of being called out to do something that I truly believe, but I feel safe to do my work with the clients, I think that's the best space for healing. So I feel wonderful, and I feel moved by the work that I do with clients and what they bring in every single day of my life.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Now, is your patient population, is it Asian or all multicultures, or how does that work? And
yes,
how does that fit in with what you do and kind of your mission?
Well, when I work called multicultural, it includes a lot of people.
Okay.
So I do have many clients who come from countries in Asia.
Okay.
Or mixed race individuals, and there are even like white folks, like white people who have lived in different countries, grew up.
I see.
I don't know if you know this term called third culture kids. These are the individuals who grew up in countries that are not their parents' passport countries.
Oh, okay. So maybe they were living overseas.
Yeah.
Their parents were working overseas, and they were raised there.
Yes, so these kids are often like kids of diplomats or military. So they have really formed their personality and their experiences through various cultures.
Interesting.
And so they hold that inside of them, but they don't show it through the appearance. So they get a little stuck and very isolated wherever they go. Sense of belonging becomes very big issue for them. Yeah.
So I love the work you do, because I think, and this word sense of belonging is coming into so many conversations these days. And I'm so happy to see that. I mean, even in a corporate environment, we're talking about that, right? Like, how do we bring a sense of belonging? Because when people feel like they belong, then they can be their best selves, and they can work at their best and thrive. So in the work that you do, not only obviously providing a safe space for them to talk about what they want to do and their families are navigating that, how do you help them address navigating when they're working or being inside of those spaces that are not just their culture?
Right, yes.
What do you do
well,
with them?
I have many clients who work in corporation.
Okay.
And they struggle a lot, through just not feeling like they're being valued, or they hit the bamboo ceiling. Sometimes some of the Asian-looking people feel like the same person who got hired the same year getting promoted, what's happening to me? Like I'm not get promoting or, promoted, or I'm not getting raised. And they internalize this into a self, esteem goes down. And it's such a hard experience for them. So we talk weekly usually about this, and surprisingly, and then also it makes sense that these individuals learn to kind of advocate for themselves in a system, or they choose to kind of go back to their original self, because many of these individuals who work in the corporations actually haven't had a chance to question themselves, who am I? So, and they are often raised by first-generation immigrants, so they are doing it for the parents as well.
Yeah.
So I always have some clients who are working through this space of like, can I leave this company? How do I make money? But I wanted to be a painter. since I was 3. I knew this.
Oh, okay. So not trying to live up to the cultural or parental expectations,
Right, yes.
but not following their own dream.
Yes, and then they are so conditioned to kind of fear and also create safety in this culture and in a system. They don't know how to go to this heart place of like, if I want to paint, I should paint. Then what happens to the insurance, the salary?
Yeah, it's a reality.
Yeah, and it's a very deeply ingrained fear. And we work through it. And I have many people who left corporation and build their own beautiful artistic companies. Because my training is creative arts therapy. So I do drama therapy,
right? Yes.
And I use a lot of kind of colors and arts as well. So I tend to attract very creative individuals who are kind of stuck in the corporate world. So they have launched their own businesses, and it's been such a pleasure to witness them.
That's like so great to hear and see. It does also, though, for me, bring up that there's so many people who aren't getting the help, right? That are stuck in this place. And I have to say this. I worked in corporate for 20 years, and I am white, but I'm a woman. So, and I have seen many different biases come into play, if you're not a white man, right?
Right.
And it is what it is. It's in all spaces. And some of the conversations that you were expressing about, or the circumstances you were expressing about, why did I get the raise, or I'm not getting valued as much as, we have to be honest in that sometimes bias and difference comes into play, right?
Yes.
And that's the challenge, is to be aware of that and to make sure that we're all addressing that so that doesn't come into play. There are some companies that are doing that work, but there are some people who don't want to do that work. And it's so ingrained in our society.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that journey and what brought you to where you are. I know you are developing that business. I know your background, but I'd love you to share it from your perspective of how you came to where you are.
Sure. Thank you. What a long journey it's been. I won't go through all the details, but when I got married a bit later in life.
So did I.
Roughly 35. And my husband and I tried to start having children right away. And, you just don't assume anything is going to go wrong, right? Your friends can have babies. You see all these women doing it. And so I thought it would just be a seamless process, and it was not. I had 2 miscarriages right away. And because of my age, when you're 35 or older, you are considered advanced maternal age. And so they do some different interventions with women who are AMA. And so I immediately was sent to a specialist at the time I lived in San Diego, California. So they sent us to Laguna Niguel, one of the top specialists in the world. And I was told that I had a unicornuate uterus, which is basically when I was forming as a baby, I only formed half of the uterus. And so I considered a hostile environment for having a baby. So we were referred to have IVF and use a surrogate without asking questions, without really advocating for myself. Probably I didn't know how at the time. That's just the step. I took it for what it was, face value, and that is the step that we took. We went to a wonderful fertility clinic in San Diego, went through the IVF process. We did have a surrogate. Here's the crazy part is I got pregnant again, naturally. But we knew, I was told that I would have a 95% chance of a miscarriage again.
Yeah.
So we went through the process of transferring one of our embryos into our surrogate. We were completely transparent with the surrogate that I was pregnant. I was 5 weeks pregnant at the time. but we were all kind of on the same page, right? Like, this pregnancy probably won't last, so let's go through with this one. And so we did. We transferred the embryo. It was a successful transfer. And this is where the story gets a little deep. At 13 weeks pregnant, our surrogate terminated our pregnancy.
Goodness.
She had a few health concerns, which could have been dealt with and had a successful pregnancy, but that's not the direction she chose. I was still pregnant, and I successfully carried my pregnancy to 39 weeks. So I have a little guy now. He's 5. Yeah, a little Rocco. And so that pregnancy was very high risk. You know, and I get a lot of questions about, you know, following, like, what did you do about the surrogate who terminated the pregnancy?
Yeah.
And really, just to not get into that too much, I was pregnant with Rocco, with my baby, and that was where my energy focused.
Totally understand.
So carried him to 39 weeks. It was an easy pregnancy, but I was very high risk. So a lot of appointments, a lot. But we had him. And then once we had him, we decided we wanted to be near family. So when he was 9 months old, we moved to upstate New York, which is where I live now. And we thought, we had one, so we know I can do it. Let's try again. And so I got pregnant again. And I actually had my 3rd miscarriage at my son's first birthday party.
Sorry.
So we came back and said, okay, at what point are we just going to, you know, really lean into the gratitude for the son, the healthy little boy that we have? And, you know, 4 losses, including the surrogate loss, you know, that's a lot for, we went through it together as a couple, but for the female body, for my spirit, for my emotional health, mental health, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, once I had that last miscarriage, things really started to go south for me. I started to go into not a very healthy, it was like I held on to all of that for so long, you know, and then once we kind of made the decision and made peace with, this is where we are, everything just kind of fell apart. And so that's when, you know, I like to say, I feel like I really searched for change out of desperation. I was really to the point that I can't continue to live like this. I can't continue to be this type of mom, wife, friend, daughter, all those things. I really needed to deal with the trauma that I had been through.
Yeah, sure.
And so I went on the hunt, and, you know, I really started to lean into fitness. And that's when things started to take a turn for the better. And so that road has really led me to where I am today, with starting my own business and really leaning into serving and creating impact for other women who need to really come home and find themselves again.
Well, wow. I love, obviously I knew parts of your story. I love that journey. And I think that it's so inspiring to hear that, you know, what brought you to what you're doing now is what you want to be able to provide and help pave the way for other women, which I think is, so incredible. But I am curious, just to, comment and then ask a follow-up question on something that you had mentioned. First off, I as well have one child. I didn't have the difficulty that you did, but I definitely can relate to the fact that having one healthy child and leaning into that gratitude is something that I think I like, that resonates with me as well, because same, you know, like I became a mom at almost 39. And, you know, I think what you spoke about, you know, your difficulties, you had a lot of tragedy in that, but I think that there's a lot of women that come to that part of trying to become a mother later or even earlier and have those circumstances. So I think that's great that you chose to put the energy in that, because that's almost like the blessing, right? Like okay, this is the blessing, so this is where my energy is. So I commend you for that, because I think that could have been incredibly hard. It could have gone a totally different way. But I wanted to ask, you said that you got into fitness and leaned into fitness. You said everything fell apart. Are you talking about totally from a health standpoint, healthy living, mind, mental, spiritual? Are you talking about all that? And were you into fitness in some way? Because I know you always worked with athletes, and just tell me a little bit about that, and what was like the big transformation? Like, did you dabble before, fall away from it, and then really commit yourself? Just talk about that.
Yeah, I have. When I lived in San Diego, I actually worked at San Diego State University in Division I athletics. My career has been in higher education, working with student athletes in their academic experience in college. And, I didn't grow up an athlete. I didn't grow up really involved in much in high school or, any time after. I had previously, when I moved to San Diego, because I'm originally from Kansas. And so when I moved to San Diego, that was a big change for me. And, I think change can kind of create, I went to an unhealthy place then also. And but the biggest change then was, I became a fitness instructor, a group fitness instructor, and a spinning instructor. And so I had experience in some fitness, but there wasn't a whole lot of, it didn't have to do a lot to become that spinning instructor or group fitness instructor, And so when I got pregnant, when I started my journey of infertility and getting pregnant with my son, I was still a spinning instructor, but I couldn't, because I was a high risk pregnancy, I couldn't teach spinning anymore. So I taught off the bike.
Okay.
Which was very challenging for me to do. And then once I had him, I didn't have enough tools in my toolbox to really come back to those habits that felt good when I created change the first time,
How are you being a demonstration of what you're teaching, what you're preaching, what you want your people to do? Because I know, and throughout my life and businesses, like, there's been times where I was really in flow and I was consistent, and my habits, I was always being a demonstration, and my team and everyone grew, and we all got results. And I've also had, slumps and darker times and times where I wasn't being a demonstration, but I was still putting the same language out there. And it just, there's an energy behind it. It doesn't hit the same. So I think you got to let leadership breathe. You have to let people grow, right? And not try to control, obviously. And then the other thing is that, that being a demonstration. I think that will win all the time.
Yeah, I mean, modeling, of course, right? Like, we follow, your team will follow what you do, not what you say, right? So being a demonstration, I think, speaks volumes to a lot of what needs to happen. And people who are figuring it out are doing that, and they're seeing the results of it. But I would agree that, I think when you talk about not being able to be yourself as not only a team member, but as a leader, that's part of it too. The energy that you spoke about, you can't fake it till you make it, because people see right through it.
Right. And I think, I know someone you look up to is Brene Brown, if I'm saying her, and it's all about vulnerability and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think, I think back to all the times that I've let my people see me for who I really am, is what has strengthened our relationships. It's not a boss and employee type of relationship. Like, I've never had that. Yeah. I've never had that, and I think because I've never been afraid to be an open book. I never grew up, in that corporate culture where I had to be tight and buttoned up. It was never my approach. And, for a while, like I said, I felt like I was missing something, because maybe I should have some experience in this. And then looking back, you can always connect the dots looking backwards, right? Looking back,
hindsight's 20/20, yeah.
Right. So Yeah, grateful for the way things have shaped out.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up Brene Brown because, yes, she's somebody that I look up to, Simon Sinek as well. And I just wanted to bring those two names into this conversation because for me, I've been in leadership for over 30 years. And it's definitely been a journey, right? It's been a journey of discovery for me. It's been, since I spent 20 years in corporate America, it's been figuring out early on, seeing the demonstrations of bad leadership, and how flawed it was in the corporate sense and traditional business, and realizing that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do because I don't want to be that kind of leader. Because I also was really connected to how that type of leadership made me feel and what it made me want to do, or thought was possible or not. And it was a journey of discovering in my early years of leadership, realizing that leadership was flawed, what was being modeled was broken, and I was kind of straddling the fence of being led in a way that wasn't effective and productive and trying to be something different for my people and my team, and the people that worked with me. And I wouldn't give it back. I think that's part of what shaped me. I actually think that's what set me on that journey to be different, right? To do it differently. And you've had, obviously, that same kind of enlightenment, because you didn't come from the corporate and you saw the possibility, right, of what was kind of shaped with doing it a different way and what that was. But I also realized that the voices, like I said, of Brene Brown and Simon Sinek have only gained traction in like the last 5 to 10 years. They talk about the things that we talk about, right? And they clearly are also aligned with that being vulnerable. Brene Brown talks about that, like you said. You cannot act like all the time with your team that you have it all together, right? Because nobody does, right? And what does that do for them if you're acting as if you always have it all together? That's saying to them, you got to do that too.
Right. I think that can create a lot of pressure for people. Right? How do I be that? How do you be so perfect all the time? Mm-hmm. How do you be in a good mood all of the time? And the reality is, we're not as leaders. Yeah. We're just not. Life hits. Life punches hard. We're people.
We're people.
And I don't, for me, it doesn't matter if you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company or, you run a small business with 2 employees. Like, your leadership matters.
Yep.
And I think being real with people and having them see you will always win over, trying to be perfect or trying to do what, every other leadership book says to do. And so it's about balance, right? Because obviously you can't bring your personal life to work,
right?
And have it bleed on people and create a negative spiral,
100%,
right?
Yeah.
But to be real and to share stories and what's going on in a way that your people can connect to, what does that do? That creates a stronger bond amongst you and your people.
Yeah.
Right? And with a stronger bond, then we can go and be a stronger unit for the people that we help.
Yeah, 100%. And it has that ripple effect, because that's the thing. Everything's connected, right? It's connected to not just the team and your experience as the leader, right? But then also how that spills over to your customers and the people you're serving, right? And, it's interesting to me because I think there is a lot of, and this is my perspective, I think there's a lot of people that are trapped in that corporate think, as I call it, that could step away and say, no, this doesn't work, it doesn't feel good. But when you're in that world, it's difficult to kind of do many times, right? And so what I'm hoping is that becomes normalized in that culture. Because for you and I, right, like, I was different inside corporate America, but I got a lot of heat for it, doing things the non-traditional way,
right.
Which was silly because I had better results than a lot of other teams. But I think that when people step away from that, it's easier. So like for yourself, you didn't have that route, right? You could definitely lock onto that. Me transitioning into entrepreneurship, I have the freedom now to do things the way I want. So I think for more and more people that are leading in whatever capacity, whether that's in corporate America and their own business, kind of understanding that is really important. And moving away from the traditional leadership advice, which is still out there. There's just a lot of people that are very popular that are giving leadership advice that, same old leadership books, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And so I only hope to normalize that different, perspective and what we're talking about here, because more and more people do that, the impact of not only what it does for the people that are working with them, but for the companies and the people they serve as well.
I think in order to become better leaders, right, it's like, what does leadership mean to you? Right? And one of the things we believe in, our definition of leadership, which you've heard me share this with you, and I try to be a demonstration of this, every time you and I work together, is number one, your ability to enroll others into a bigger vision of what's possible. Number two, your willingness to challenge them more than they've ever felt challenged while supporting them more than they've ever felt supported. And number three, being what I said earlier about being a demonstration of what you teach. Right? And so let's, definition number one, your ability to enroll others into a bigger vision of what's possible. We've all done that for someone. And if we all think back, we all have someone who's done that for us in our lives. Right? Without this person seeing more that was possible for us than we could see for ourselves. If you really think back, and maybe let's do it, right? Think back to someone who has done this for you. It's like, wow. And you've probably been that for someone else unintentionally. So what if we did that intentionally? Right? What if we didn't look at leadership as, okay, I'm just an admin person at this financial firm. I'm not a leader. It's like, no, you are. Right? You lead people, you lead your family, and at work, you lead people whether you know it or not. It's just a matter of, is it intentional or unintentional? So if we can get intentional about one thing, I want to help others see a bigger vision of what's possible. Like, how can I do that today? Right? See, like, the power that can be behind that.
All right, so I hope you loved this episode and found it valuable. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you'd be so kind, if you know someone else that this will help, please share this episode with them. Just grab a link for this specific episode, text it to a friend or colleague so it can help more people like you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next time for more entrepreneurial goodness. Same time, same place on the Finding the Upside podcast.